You ever notice something? The moment you stop talking, she starts thinking. Not just thinking, overthinking wildly like her mind becomes a storm. And you didn't even do anything. You just went quiet. That silence you created, it's louder than any words and it's driving her crazy. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to tell you, most men never figure this out. And the ones who do, they change the entire game. So subscribe, stay with me, and let's dive deep. Here's what most guys don't understand. Women are wired differently. Their brains don't stop. They process everything. Every word you said, every word you didn't say, every look, every pause. And when you go silent, that processing goes into overdrive because silence creates a vacuum, and her mind rushes to fill it with questions, with doubts, with scenarios, with stories she's telling herself. Now, listen carefully. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding reality. When you're always available, always texting back immediately, always explaining yourself, always reassuring her, you become predictable. And predictable is comfortable. But comfort isn't attraction. Comfort is safety. Attraction is uncertainty. Attraction is mystery. Attraction is wondering. And when you go silent, you reintroduce that uncertainty. Not because you're trying to hurt her, not because you're being cruel, but because you have a life. Because you have purpose. Because you're not sitting around waiting. You're building something, you're focused on something, you're becoming something. And that silence, it's a byproduct of your mission. Not a tactic, a byproduct. Here's where it gets interesting. When she can't reach you, when you don't respond right away, her mind starts running. Is he okay? Is he busy? Is he with someone else? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Does he still want me? Notice something. All of those questions, they're about you. Your attention, your validation, your presence. And that's the shift. When you were always available, she didn't have to think about you. She knew where you were. She knew you'd answer. She knew you were hers. But when you pull back, when you go quiet, suddenly she has to think. She has to wonder. She has to work for it. And here's the truth. Women want what they have to work for. Not because they're shallow, but because value is perceived through effort. If something comes too easy, it doesn't feel valuable. If she has to chase it a little, it becomes precious. Now let me be clear. This doesn't mean ignore her forever. This doesn't mean be cold. This doesn't mean punish her with silence. That's childish. That's weak. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about having a life, a real life, where you're not glued to your phone, where you're not constantly available, where you have things that matter, goals that matter, work that matters, and when you're in that space, she feels it. She senses it. And it makes her think. It makes her wonder. It makes her want to be part of that world because you're not needy. You're not desperate. You're not waiting for her to complete you. You're already whole. And that's magnetic. Let's go deeper. Think about how you used to be when you first met her. You weren't texting all day. You had things going on. You were mysterious. She didn't know everything about you, and that drove her wild. She wanted to know more. She wanted to see more. She wanted to be around you more. But then what happened? You got comfortable. You started sharing everything. You started being available all the time. You started seeking her validation, her approval, her attention. And slowly the attraction faded. Not because she's a bad person, but because she's a bad person. But because the mystery died, the challenge disappeared. The uncertainty vanished. And with it, the excitement. So when you go silent now, you're bringing that back. You're reminding her of who you were, of who you still are, of the man she was attracted to. The man who had his own world. The man who didn't need her but chose her. There's a massive difference. Needing someone versus choosing someone. When you need her, you're desperate. You're clingy. You're weak. When you choose her, you're powerful. You're confident. You're strong. And women feel that difference. They feel it deeply. So when you go silent and she starts overthinking, She's trying to figure out where she stands. She's trying to understand if you still choose her, or if you've moved on, or if you're focusing on yourself. And that uncertainty, it makes her evaluate. It makes her think about what she has. It makes her realize she might lose you. And that fear, that's where attraction lies. Not in comfort, not in certainty, but in the possibility of loss. Now, here's what you need to understand. This only works if you're genuine. If you're actually building something. If you're actually focused on your purpose. If you're actually living your life. Because women can sense fake. They can sense when you're playing games, when you're just trying to manipulate, when you're being silent to get a reaction. And that kills attraction faster than anything. But when your silence is real, when it comes from genuine focus, when it comes from having a mission, that's when it's powerful. That's when she feels it. That's when she starts to chase. Let me give you a hard truth. Most men lose women because they're too available, because they're too eager, because they're too focused on her and not enough on themselves. They make her the center of their world. And she becomes bored because she doesn't want to be the center. She wants to orbit around a man with a center, a man with purpose, a man with direction, a man with something bigger than her. And when you go silent, you're showing her that you have that. You're showing her that you're not sitting around waiting for her text, waiting for her approval, waiting for her attention. You're out there building, growing, becoming. And that's attractive. That's what makes her overthink because she realizes she's not the priority. Your mission is, your growth is, your purpose is, and she wants to be part of that. She wants to support that. She wants to be chosen by a man like that. But here's the thing. You can't fake this. You actually have to be that man. You actually have to have a mission. You actually have to be building something. Because if you're just sitting at home ignoring her on purpose, playing games, she'll see through it and she'll leave. But if you're genuinely busy, genuinely pauser, focused, genuinely living your purpose, that silence becomes natural, it becomes authentic, and it becomes powerful. Now, let's talk about what happens next. When she reaches out, when she texts you, when she's clearly been overthinking, how do you respond? You don't ignore her forever. You don't play hard to get indefinitely. You respond, but you respond from a place of strength, not desperation, not neediness. You respond when you have time, when you're done with what you're doing, when it fits into your schedule. And that response, it's calm, it's confident, it's not over-explaining, it's not apologizing for being busy, it's just honest, simple, direct. And that shows her everything she needs to know that you're a man with priorities, with boundaries, with self-respect. And that makes her respect you more, value you more, want you more, because you're not like other guys who drop everything for her, who rearrange their whole life for her attention, who sacrifice their purpose for her approval. You're different, you're grounded, you're focused, and that's rare, that's valuable, that's what she's been looking for. So when you go silent and she overthinks, it's not cruelty, it's not manipulation, it's reality. It's you living your life and her realizing that she's lucky to be part of it, not entitled to all of it. This is about self-respect, about knowing your worth, about not giving away your time and energy freely to anyone who doesn't value it. And when you operate from that place, women feel it. They sense it. They respond to it because it's masculine. It's strong. It's what they're biologically wired to be attracted to. A man who knows his value, who doesn't compromise it, who doesn't beg for attention, who doesn't need validation, a man who is complete on his own. And that's the key. Being complete on your own. Not needing her to feel whole, not needing her to feel worthy, not needing her to feel like a man. You already are with or without her, and when she senses that, that's when she can't stop thinking about you. That's when your silence becomes deafening. That's when she overthinks wildly because she knows she's with a real man. A man who could walk away. A man who has options. A man who chooses to be there but doesn't need to be. And that choice, that's what she craves. That's what creates deep attraction. That's what builds lasting respect. So stop being so available. Stop dropping everything for her. Stop making her your entire world. Build your own world. A world so compelling, so purposeful, so focused that she wants to be part of it. And when you do that, your silence won't be a strategy. It'll be a consequence of your greatness. And she'll feel that difference. She'll overthink. She'll wonder. She'll chase. Not because you're manipulating her, but because you're living your truth. And truth is always attractive, always powerful, always magnetic. So go be that man. The man with purpose, the man with mission, the man who doesn't need her but chooses her, and watch how everything changes. If this resonated with you, if you felt this in your core, hit that subscribe button right now because this is just the beginning. There's so much more to learn, so much more to become, and I'm here to help you get there. Subscribe.